before us now is to change that big picture view of there's a great opportunity and I have a winning solution into a crisp expression of a business objective that can get the job done. You're probably familiar with an old saying that goes along the lines of, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Well, for the innovator, that's not really true. Turns out if you don't know where you're going, no road will get you anywhere you want to be. What we have to do is we have to declare a specific objective. What are we going to accomplish as we fulfill this need? And use that to align everything we're planning, everything we're all are thinking. We have to make that our target and make everything integrate around it. There's a problem, however. You don't know enough to have the right objective. We haven't even started the process of digging into everything you're going to need to understand to get that right. So I want to put you at ease. It's not about having the correct business objective or your final objective. You need a hypothesis of what you think you can do in the business world that will allow you to meet that need that you care so much about going after. The 75% success rate that we've had, I don't know the exact number, but I would say 90% of those folks had a very different business objective by the time they got to the end of their journey than when they started. Doesn't matter. You're going to make it better as you go along. What are some of the ways that these objectives get off kilter? One of the common problems that we see and help people correct is that they start out thinking too small. It's easy to do if you've been working at it for a while, scraping every dollar that you can together to just keep going. It's easy to think in terms of how much do I need to have happen so I can at least make a living doing this or something along those lines. Well, one of the clients I've been working with recently has a pretty radical technology. It could truly be world changing. And yet at the beginning, his first thought was, well, if I can sell about 50 of these by the end of the year, we can keep investing in this. This will be good. Then as we dug a little further and they looked at the impact it could have by serving the whole U.S. market, they changed that business objective to a little bit larger one. Said, you know what? There are 400,000 people who need what I have right now, and that number is increasing by 6,000 every year. That kind of took their breath away and said, you know what? We really care about this, the U.S. market. But these people were motivated in the first place because they care about water safety, and that's not just a U.S. problem. Everybody in the world wants safe drinking water. So the business objective they ended up with is around the issue that this being a global problem needs to be solved on a global level, and so we are going to insert ourselves as the market leader globally in the next 3 years. That became the objective around which their entire plan is now being formulated and being executed. Another issue that comes up, especially if you get a classic mad scientist who's invented amazing things, is that they can think of 100 different uses for this magic product. You'd be surprised how many of those people are really out there. It's not just in movies. There's some amazing inventions lying around, and most of them never see the market because the last thing that kind of inventor can do is focus. They see value everywhere. One of the scientists that I had a chance to work with a couple years ago was just like that. He had a solution that goes into polyurethane formulations, and I was happy as a chemical engineer. I got to work on a chemical problem again, but the problem was he couldn't make up his mind which of these 100 things ought to be done. When he pulled in a business manager that got a little bit of focus, and they reformulated the strategy around kind of the following. It says, we have pretty good data already on how this affects wood finishes, how it affects tires life when you put it into the rubber, and how it affects paint that you put on metal surfaces that makes it much longer, much more durable. Let's focus our business plan around raising the money to go do in-depth testing in these applications, and then we'll be able to launch a business. As we help them unpack those needs and those opportunities, it changed again because the focus had to narrow once more. For good reason. There were trucking fleets who were raising their hands saying, if you can deliver this product to us, we will buy it at levels that added up to like $45 million in revenue over the next 36 months. So suddenly they had a reason to focus and now have a business plan targeted on a very specific market, and they're going after it. There's a couple other areas that you can kind of get off track in terms of formulating your business objective. And these are just things you need to be thinking about. One is, whose help are you going to need? You're going to be using your journey to create a compelling message. It's not easy to create a compelling message for an abstract listener. You need a specific audience. Well, we might as well focus on the audience you need to influence next. So that's what we help people do, is figure out who that person is, what they're going to want them to do, what the questions are, what the issues are that kind of a partner is going to have to know about, going to have their questions answered, and build that into how they do their work on this plan. Of course, they can't even start down that journey if they haven't made a clear objective for their business, because that's what triggers the realization that they need help. Another area that's particularly important if you're going out to raise money is you've got to think about how you're going to exit after you've reached your major strategic milestone. It allows your investors to recoup their investment and take the business to the next level. So is this going to be an IPO? Are you going to hope to be acquired? These are the kind of issues that you have to think about. How you set up your money raising, your capitalization, what kind of contracts you sign, what kind of partnerships you form. All of these things will be affected because they will matter what you structured when you try to make that exit. So part of it has to do with deciding how you want to make this happen. But part of that business objective really comes down to what does the market need you to do if you're going to satisfy that need. You cannot pursue a venture capital free plan of bootstrapping if the only way to go fast enough to win is to go big fast and raise the money, deal with the equity sharing, and make it happen. So you don't always get complete freedom in what you're going to do, but it does matter that you pick something you're comfortable with and that matches the need of the market. So how do we put this into action? I want to tell you now what you got to do as you think about these issues. You really need to form that first hypothesis, that first stake you put in the ground to try and aim your whole business at. You've got to get it down on paper. So the easiest way I know is to start by thinking of what role you want to have in that market within a specified time period. And I recommend 18 to 36 or at most 5-year time frame. If you can define who you're going to become in that marketplace, then you go on and define what do you have to deliver in order to achieve that. And lastly, be clear about what return you expect to make in the process. Because all of these things are what it takes to have a clear business objective. I'm going to close with a story from Ligari Furniture. I had a chance to work with this Fort Worth company a couple years ago, and their first charge to the project and the shape we took it on was, we want to start selling in China. Even though we've made our furniture in China for a long time, we've never tried to sell to the Chinese consumer. And we think that they're at the place where they're going to be ready for this kind of furniture. So we got started working with them, and we're well underway and seeing a lot of great opportunities. Had a conference call one morning in which the CEO says, well, it sounds good. I'm just hoping we can get back to a 9% growth rate. Well, the consulting team and I looked at each other and said, we were thinking 39 would be closer. And so we realized that what we had to do is put the opportunity in front of him in a way that triggered his desire to reformulate how he's thinking about his own business. And it was quite successful. When he reviewed the plan and the strategies that we laid out for him, his words were, hey, you've inspired me about my own business. And he'd made a dramatic turn at that point and started growing that business the way we told him he could. Recently, he told me he's gotten so excited about this that he's upped his investment, not in his own company, but in his suppliers, because the only way they can keep up with his demand. Well, that kind of inspiration is what you're trying to achieve with everybody you reach out to, as well as your own team. And we come back next time, we're going to talk in more detail about the deeper meaning behind your business that can be part of that inspirational story.